The smart person today is a young man named Andy No, which is a great name to have. No. I came across him on Twitter because his beat, I would say, might be unfair to say his beat is hate crime hoaxes, but he does a really thorough job of keeping track of the hate crime hoaxes that are out there, and there are plenty. He also writes for a great online magazine called Quillette. If you haven't discovered it, believe me, when you find it, you'll be happy because there's a lot of great stuff in there. Andy, you're out in Portland right now, right?
I am. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Anybody who has the guts to wear that jacket on TV has my vote. I've seen some of you when you've recorded stuff out there, and it seems as though in Portland, and I don't want to be unfair to the police, but it seems like have they abdicated some of the responsibility here because they know they won't get any support from the politicians?
Yes, so Portland police have been politicized, and I place the blame for that on our city's leadership. Our mayor, Ted Wheeler, also doubles as a police commissioner. Mm-hmm. And the police, you've probably seen in some videos of where Antifa is rioting in downtown Portland, basically with impunity, and the police just watch from a distance and do nothing. And they're following orders. There's a lot of pressure on our politicians to not go too hard on Antifa or other similar movements. And actually, what's happening right now with Portland police is there's a shortage. Mm-hmm. In just between February and March, we had 44 officers leave the bureau, and people are not applying to become officers. And the police union says in part that it has to do with the political climate. The mayor really has no problem with throwing officers under the bus for political convenience.
Mm-hmm. What do you see as the potential consequences of false claims?
Well, who really hurts in all that are victims of actual hate crimes. Mm-hmm. I think there's a panic about hate in America, particularly after Donald Trump was elected, mm-hmm. and that was flamed by activist group SPLC. If you look at the actual numbers of reportings, and particularly reports of violent bias-motivated attacks, we're looking in the single digits mm-hmm. Per million. So they're relatively rare, but hate attacks do happen. But when high-profile stories, and many of them unfortunately turn out to be hoaxes, what happens is that it hardens attitudes towards actual victims and will make it harder for people to be believed. And of course, it also wastes police resources as well. Mm-hmm. People don't think about that.
I think the reason why there's a propensity for hoaxes is that there isn't a clear punishment when you're found out. Generally, what I've noticed, especially on campus, when somebody is found to be hoaxing, people feel sorry for them. They immediately express sympathy. The person has been experiencing personal troubles, psychological distress, and it's pointless to arrest them. It's pointless to charge them. They take a leave of absence from school, meaning the punishment really doesn't exist, and they get a large amount of sympathy. And I think that's compassionate, but it's a problem. It creates more of a problem.
Yes, the problem it creates is it incentivizes more hate hoaxes. Mm. I mean, I described victimhood as basically like a gold chest, and there's so many people who want in on it that they're willing to lie. I mean, just look at the intersectional grifters we have mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Who are in the media a lot, whether it be Jussie Smollett or Ilhan Omar or Linda Sarsour. These people would be reduced to practically nothing if it wasn't for their so-called victim identity. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to gain from being a victim, and if the law or the institution is not holding people accountable for lying or misleading people, which they frequently don't actually, then what's to stop people from sharing a story on social media about how they're the victim of some phantom bigot?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the hate mail that I get is actually really racially tinged. Mm-hmm. My detractors detractors will tend to cite my sexual orientation or my ethnic background, or where my parents happen to be from, as evidence that I'm a traitor to a larger cause, that I'm being a lapdog for white supremacy. This is all ideology. It's nonsense. I'm an individual. I don't evoke my identity as some type of giving me more credibility than over somebody else, and that's my frustration. Probably my number one frustration with identity politics is when people say that because if you happen to be male or white or whatever, you shouldn't speak. I have more experience on whatever, and I have more authority. To me, that's intellectual laziness, and it's a cop-out.
A slide projector? Was it a slide projector or something like? It was somebody had put a cover over some kind of office equipment, right? Do you remember?
Yeah,
this?
It was lab equipment.
Yes.
That had a plastic wrap over it.
Yes. Amazing. I mean, and I think that like the press decided not to cover it because it was so idiotic. They said that there's somebody in a KKK hood. That caused so much trouble on that campus. I think they had to close stuff down and cancel things and speeches, and they had like therapists, and then they find out it was like lab equipment with just the covering over it. Insane.
Yeah, you wonder, like, these students are paying so much for their private university educations, and they have no ability to think when it comes to these images that they're seeing. I'm also reminded of another story. In 2013 at Oberlin, there was a huge panic over an allegation that there was somebody with a KKK hood on campus. One investigation actually found out that it was somebody wrapped in a blanket.
Right.
But classes were shut down for the whole day. I mean, it's like administrators are also giving in and feeding into this fragility making in students as well.